So last time we said, okay, next time you come on, Dani, let's get together a little bit longer of a list of words that have meanings that and origins that most people would not know, but we use almost every day. Where do you want to start?
Okay, so I've prepared a list.
Okay.
I have 16 words. I don't know if we're going to get through all of them.
No problem.
The one that I'd like to start off with, which actually our mutual friend Justin suggested I throw into the mix, is how often we say the words unlimited and limitless, which both necessarily invoke the frequencies of limitation. And how there actually does not exist in any, established English dictionary a way to convey this thought without invoking limitation. I've created the word omniscopic, which means every moment access to every possibility that ever was, is, or will be, to replace it. But just in terms of innovation of what is possible for us on this planet, when we're hampered by the idea and the frequencies of limitation in describing being unlimited or limitless, that right there is its own enslavement construct.
I love that.
Does that make sense?
It does. It does. Everyone's one way or another. One way or another. You think that you're talking about one thing, but there is that root word. It's based into it. And you say, well, it's a negation of the root word. But
exactly.
Yeah. So they have it.
Which it's like drawing a big pink elephant and then putting a circle and a slash through it and thinking we haven't just implanted the image of a pink elephant into someone's mind.
Right.
It just is insulting. So you had sent me a few today, which were really interesting. And the one that really caught my eye was verb. And that the original definition of verb is Latin for word. And I just did a podcast interview with Antero Ali this week, who was talking about the stagnation in the word is. And this is a big part of my word, how fixity it's another sort of downside of hierarchy where they try to make everything stuck and stagnant and deny our evolutionary nature, that everything is moving. And so I love that the original word from the Latin was verb, right, which is in motion, but how like one of the fundamental, another enslavement construct that we're dealing with is all these nouns in our system and in our lexicon. So I love, and you turn me on to this, that the original definition of verb is actually word, which puts us closer to a capital T truth, which is we're always evolving, we're always moving. And I speak to a lot of my, coaching clients when I'm working with them on the language of healing with pathologies, right? And a pathology would say like you have arthritis versus like you're healing some inflammation, you're experiencing some inflammation, right? Western medicine tries to make everything a noun and make everything permanent, when the reality is like everything in this reality construct is temporary, but our language has been thrown off with all these nouns and all this permanence that they've infused in it.
Right. No, that's a great way of saying it. The diagnosis and the treatment and the entire mentality around something, what something you have or something you're experiencing.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, that's a wonderful example right there.
Thanks. I'm glad you like that. Just to give it a cherry on top, there's the I am, as in like the I am arthritic, the am diabetic, which is the most dangerous, right? Versus the I have this thing, versus the I'm healing, I'm experiencing, I'm moving through.
Yeah, I had a few things sent to me like that today too. Well, the verb one, I'm really happy that you brought that up, because that is something that I wanted to see expanded on. But keep going, please.
Okay, so the religion one I had prepped and you brought me. So the actual definition of religion is to bind back. So means back, right? Going backwards, from ligere, which means to bind. So the actual real deal definition of religion meaning to bind back. So just thinking of the larger implications of people who define themselves as religious, people who are following certain religions, and knowing that embedded in that word and that idea from the get-go is a binding, like a shackle to something behind us, something backwards, something old.
Well, wouldn't you also say that there is a chance there where to bind, I mean, you take a vow to bind so many other things, and it doesn't have to, that would also be subjective in some way to call it a shackle. If I were to look at it that way, to bind yourself to a belief system, or to put yourself, if you're a monk of some kind, or you're going off and you're on a spiritual path and you have bound yourself to that path, you're on that journey. Some people would look at it that way too, not so much as a shackling event. Obviously there are many religions, and there are many cults, and there's many congregations that have been formed that have led people to utter destruction and disaster, and it has been based on very, very poorly conceived notions. But at the same time, doesn't have to be a shackling across the board, no?
No, I think you make a fine point. I mean, in terms of religion, we're putting an intermediary between ourselves and the divine. And then if we're bound to that, again, we come back to that fixity, to that permanence. So what if I bind myself to one belief system? I had a period of time where I was really into Mahayana Buddhism. If I bound myself to that, would I be able to, expand into other belief systems that may contradict that one or may take me further? Again, there's this permanence that strikes me from my paradigm, from my perspective.
I get
it's
you.
all open to interpretation.
For sure. I totally see that. You wouldn't have the flexibility to be able to move from one place to the other. You'd still be there. I get you, 100%.
Yeah, exactly. So there's, to worry actually means to choke.
Wow.
And that's a word that we often misuse in our culture, where, I have a yoga teacher who's fond of saying, don't worry about how high your leg is, worry about how steady your breath is. And I'm like, well, how about we just attune our focus to it? But to instruct us to worry, if we go to the etymology of choke, that's not super helpful. If we go to the current iteration, which is basically mind fucking, that's not going to be helpful either, and I think that's just kind of like a laziness that a lot of us have fallen into, where we're unconsciously using this word. But then when I see people who've tied it in to, the larger virus op and talking about worrying and choking and can't breathing, these are the frequencies that we're spreading as we use these words.
Interesting about the I did not know worry is choke.
Yeah, worry means to choke. Similarly, sorry means full of sorrow or full of sores, literally sores.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. And so when you think about, again, how recklessly that word is bandied around, there's the genuine apology, right? Where sorrow might be appropriate. But then sometimes you come out of the bathroom and you see someone's waiting and it's oh, sorry. And it's okay, I'm spreading sorry or sores.
I see it. Yeah. And I went back to worry again here too. And this is the first time I've ever seen this it's the second definition as a verb of a dog or other carnivorous animal. To tear at, to gnaw at, or to drag around with the teeth. Here's the word. Here's the example sentence. I found my dog contentedly worrying a bone.
Right.
Wow. I just wow.